Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The next press conference for today is weekly updates from the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission to Ukraine. And now I give the floor to Mr. Alexander Hook, Principal Deputy Chief Monitor of the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission to Ukraine. Mr. Hook, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Last week, yet again, saw more violence along the contact line. While the number of ceasefire violations across Donbass recorded by the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission last week was just slightly higher than the previous week, the situation around Svetodarsk was particularly worrying. We in fact recorded twice as many ceasefire violations in that area last week compared to the previous week. On Tuesday evening, 18th January, our monitors at their forward patrol base in the town actually heard over 400 incoming and outgoing explosions. Dear friends, I'm speaking to you today from Donetsk city. As my colleagues and I traveled here yesterday from Mariupol, we passed through Olenivka. It is a place that has long been associated in my mind with the horrors of this conflict. It was here in April 2016 that 4 people were killed, including a pregnant woman, as they slept in their cars waiting for the entry-exit checkpoint to open. As now, almost 2 years later, this once peaceful town is again the scene of tragedy. On Sunday, 21st January, a man was killed and another injured as they traveled on a bus. Details are sketchy, and we in the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission are trying to establish the facts. But one fact is indisputable. The man killed and the other injured, both in their late 50s, are, like all the other civilian casualties in this conflict, innocent victims. They are victims of a refusal to compromise, to make hard choices. Above all, they are victims of the side's continuing refusal to abide by the agreements designed to end the conflict. Victims of the side's failure to withdraw weapons, disengage forces and formations, and demine. Instead of fully complying, instead of withdrawing weapons, disengaging and demining, it seems the sides are in fact doing the opposite. All along the contact line, for some time now, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission has been observing non-compliance. Not only are the sites not demining, they are in fact laying more mines, sometimes inside disengagement areas. Here, for instance, you can see anti-tank mines in so-called DPR-controlled Petrivske. Not far in nearby government-controlled Viktorivka, a similar scene plays out with another SMM unmanned aerial vehicle spotting more anti-tank mines. Everywhere, we observe recently dug trenches as the sites dig in literally and figuratively. Here, for example, one of our UAVs spotted fresh trenches near the government-controlled part of Zaitsevo. And inevitably, just across the contact line, in the so-called DPR-controlled part of the village, we spot the trenches as well. Instead of withdrawing weapons, all we see are indications of build-up. Everywhere, we see weapons dug in. Here, for instance, you can see hardware in the government-controlled part of the Petrivske disengagement area. And here, more hardware waiting and ready for action in firing positions near so-called LPR-controlled Obozne. These pictures tell a story. They in fact constitute a warning. All across eastern Ukraine, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission has been observing readiness. Everywhere we observe indications indications that the sides are preparing to continue to conflict or even escalate it. New trenches, more weapons, freshly light mines, all indicating that the sides are preparing to ramp up this conflict rather than ending it. Dear friends, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission has almost 700 monitors in place, plus an array of monitoring technology, including cameras, UAVs, and acoustic sensors. We are monitoring 24/7, and we have a responsibility to report. We have a responsibility to provide early warning. We do so every day in our daily reports. We observe and report the failure to withdraw weapons, disengage forces and formations, and demine, and a continued effort, if not increased rate, of readiness for more violence. This needs to be taken seriously by decision and policymakers. It is a warning that should not be ignored. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hook. Now it's time for questions. The first question.
The Premier TV channel. You showed us the preparations of the Ukrainian government army and the so-called republics. Yeah, can we assume that the escalation of war will continue? And the second question is, have you some context with the European authorities about the police mission that will be provided to OSCE? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's stick to the facts. The OSCE Special Monitoring Mission had been issuing regularly, in fact daily, warnings in the form of its daily reports of continued presence of military hardware in areas where it shouldn't be, or military movements beyond these lines. All of these findings, publicly available, are indication for preparedness and readiness by the sides to continue the fighting. What is more, the findings by the mission, including the observation and registration of violations of the ceasefire regime, indicate that there is no will to end the fighting. What is even worse is that the civilian population continues to bear the brunt of all this. The victim yesterday in Olenivka is unfortunately just one in a catalogue of many that have suffered unnecessarily from the ongoing violence. With regard to your second question, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission's mandate is given to it by 57 participating states. It is up to those participating states to change our mandate. Any other decision taken in other platforms will have a different decision-making process, and we stand ready to share our experience with anyone that is interested in it. Thank you.
So you don't have any non-formal contacts with the European authorities, not only that they can say to you that they will provide the police missions? Non-formal, I mean.
All European member countries are participating states of the OSCE. This discussion would have to take place in the Permanent Council in Vienna. That is where decisions are being taken to craft and agree on mandates of OSCE field operations. I can't comment here further specifically on your question.
Do we have more questions? No more questions. So thank you, Mr. Hook, and let's finish.
Okay, thank you.